Hello everyone, I'm the Saxy Gamer, and today we're here to take a look at the 3 new leaders that have recently been added to the game as part of the Great Warlords release of the 2022 Leader Pass. So we're going to go ahead, I figured rather than doing a single leader spotlight on each of these leaders, since they really only have one different ability compared to the existing civilization, I figured I'd just go ahead and do each pack in a single video. So I know I missed the one for the first release, but I am going to go back and release one of these for the leaders that came out in November as well. But yeah, just going to go over the abilities of each of these 3 leaders, talk about some strengths and weaknesses of them, and give you some thoughts on how strong I feel they are. So up first, we have Nader Shah, who is an alternate leader for Persia. His new ability is known as Sword of Persia. It makes it so that he gets +5 combat strength when attacking full health units. In addition to this, cities not founded by him receive +2 faith and +3 gold on domestic trade routes. And then, of course, in addition to this, he also has the rest of Persia's kit, which we've covered in a previous video about Cyrus. So overall, I think that Nader Shah is actually a pretty strong leader. I think he's about on par with Cyrus, honestly. So he's kind of like Cyrus, but I feel as though he's a little bit easier to execute domination games with than Cyrus. So you lose out on the ability to get that extra movement after declaring a surprise war, and you lose out on some extra loyalty per turn that Cyrus has. But the thing is, it kind of makes up for that in the fact that you get that extra combat strength when you're attacking full health units. So it makes it quite a bit easier to be able to take out enemy units. I've noticed, especially, I was playing him on stream a little bit in the past few days, and I've noticed that it is very easy to take out enemy units when you're playing as this guy, just because the +5 combat strength is pretty significant, honestly. So I feel like whenever you play this guy, you definitely go for a domination game with him. As far as the thing with the +2 faith and +3 gold on domestic trade routes for cities not founded by you, I actually think this is bugged. I'm pretty sure it's just applying to every city right now. At least whenever I played on stream, it looked like it was giving this bonus on all domestic trade routes, which, I mean, honestly just makes him even better, you know? So I'm sure that hopefully that will be patched eventually to actually work properly. But it actually does add up. If you're able to get a lot of trade routes, it's pretty nice. In addition to this, just the fact that you have the Persia ability that already is giving you 2 gold and 1 culture for domestic trade routes, getting an additional +3 gold means that even from the very first trade route, you're going to be able to get +5 gold, which early on in the game is actually pretty significant. Whenever I've played him, I kind of like to go for a more religion domination type of thing, because then you can use that extra faith that you're getting to help support your religion. You can then maybe get a religion with crusade and use that to go beat someone up. And overall, I think he is a pretty good leader. In the first release of the leader pass, I complained that a lot of the leaders just feel like they had, they had random leader abilities slapped on them with no regard to what the civilization actually does. I feel like this leader for Persia actually, it does take into account the other abilities of the civ, and I feel like it actually works pretty well. And as far as how strong I think he is, as I mentioned before, I think he's about on par with Cyrus. So a very strong leader that I think you should definitely take a chance and play. For the next leader, we have another persona that was added for Suleiman. So this one, previously we had Suleiman the Magnificent. This one we have Suleiman Muhteşem, which I believe actually just means magnificent in Turkish. And I have a Turkish friend. Too bad I'm not around him today. Otherwise, he could inform me on how to properly pronounce that one. But hopefully, Muhteşem is hopefully pretty close. Probably not at all. But his ability is just called the Magnificent, which is kind of funny. It makes it so that he gets +15% science and culture when in a golden age or heroic age. And then whenever he is in a normal age or a dark age, he receives +4 combat strength against civilizations who are also in a normal age or a dark age. So it's a little bit more of a complicated ability here, but I think it has some interesting thing. And then, of course, you still have the Great Turkish Bombard. I should point out, you don't get the Janissary when you are playing this version of Suleiman. That is unique to Suleiman the Magnificent. Instead, you just get the Barbary Corsair. So I feel like this is obviously perhaps a little bit less of a domination-focused version of Suleiman, just because you do get the +15% science and culture when you're in a golden age or heroic age, and one of the trade-offs that you lose by not playing the other version of Suleiman, as I mentioned, is that you don't get the Janissary, and you also don't get Ibrahim the Governor. So Ibrahim the Governor is pretty good in terms of making you able to go and take other people's cities, but you still do have the Great Turkish Bombard ability, which is pretty good for building siege units and using siege units, and you do still get +4 combat strength when you're in either a normal age or a dark age and fighting someone who's also either in a normal age or a dark age. So it kind of just feels like a slightly less domination-focused game whenever you're playing this version of Suleiman. So maybe you use domination to take out one of your neighbors early on, and then you try to chain together golden ages just to get that big bonus to science and culture. Then maybe you can either play a science game or you can play a culture game or something like that. As far as power rankings are concerned, I think he is a little bit less good than the other version of Suleiman, just because he's a little bit less consistent. His play style is muddied a little bit, so in terms of flexibility, he does gain some flexibility in the fact that you can pretty easily go for a science game, or I guess you could really even go for a culture game if you really want, but you are losing focus towards domination victory, which means that his maximum potential is a little bit less than Suleiman the Magnificent. Regardless, though, I think that if you're able to get lucky and you're able to chain, or I guess it's not entirely luck, it's partly skill as well, but if you're able to chain together those golden ages or heroic ages, be able to consistently get the bonus to science and culture, then it is a really strong bonus. And the nice thing with him is, no matter what type of age you're in, you're at least going to get some bonus. So it's not like there's a scenario where you get nothing, which is at least good. But it's a little bit more up to RNG as to what age you are in, what age your neighbors are in, and what bonuses that means you get. So, although I still think he is a good leader, I'd maybe put him in something like B tier, maybe even C tier. I mean, Great Turkish Bombard is obviously still very good. The Grand Bazaar is still a pretty good, unique building. So I'd probably rate him somewhere around the B tier. And then the last of the 3 leaders that was added in the Great Warlords pack is Tokugawa of Japan, so this is just obviously an alternate leader. His unique ability is known as Bakuhan, and it makes it so that his international trade routes receive minus 25% yield and tourism bonuses, but your domestic trade routes get 1 culture and 1 science and plus 2 gold for every specialty district at the destination city. In addition to this, cities within 6 tiles of Japan's capital are 100% loyal, and after you research flight, you get plus 1 tourism from every district. You do still get Meiji Restoration as well, so you're going to get extra yields on your districts for having adjacent districts, and you still get the Samurai and the Electronics Factory. So I think that Tokugawa is one of the more interesting leaders that came out in this pack. It's a very nice ability, and once again, as I mentioned early on with Nader Shah, I feel like in this release of the pack they at least considered the other abilities of the civs whenever considering what the leader ability should be, because the ability of Tokugawa actually synergizes really nice with the fact that he just wants to build a lot of districts for Meiji Restoration, and the other thing is you can really just turtle up with him. I think at the end of the day he is purely a turtle civ, an isolationist civ. That's why you have the penalty to your international trade routes. So I think the playstyle with him is really just to clump your cities up, because you're going to be able to get that full loyalty for all your cities within 6 tiles of your capital. But you just clump your cities up, you build a ton of districts, and then you have a ton of internal trade routes going. They're domestic trade routes, because 1 culture and 1 science for every district, and plus 2 gold. I always forget about the plus 2 gold, but 1 culture, 1 science, and plus 2 gold per every specialty district at the destination is pretty good, and that's going to add up. So I think the strategy on him is make sure that in every city you build a commercial hub or a harbor, and then you make sure that you get as many trade route slots as possible. You try to get high population, high district count, and you just play a very turtley game, send all your domestic trade routes, get plenty of culture and science from that. Continue to get a lot of district adjacency from Meiji Restoration, and I think with that you can play a science game, you can play a culture game. So the thing that you lose out on compared to Hojo is the bonus towards producing holy sites, theater squares, and what's the other one? Encampments, I think, is what Hojo gets. But even so, I think that the Bakuhan ability is just a very interesting one, and I think it offers a lot of pretty cool replacements for the abilities that Hojo previously had. So I think this is a very strong civ. I've forgotten about the plus 1 tourism from every district for flight. That part I don't think is really that good. I mean, it's nice to have, but I don't think it's particularly good. I guess it's a little bit useful if you're going to play a culture game. But yeah, overall, I think this is a very interesting turtle civ, and I think it's one that is pretty fun to play, and I'm pretty happy with how this guy is. So I've gotten to play him a little bit. I still want to play him a little bit more before I fully decide, but I would say he's probably in the realm of A to S tier in terms of power rankings. He's a very good civ, and he's one that I personally like to play. I mean, I already enjoy Japan as is, and I think the Bakugan ability is a pretty interesting one as well that allows you some other play styles. I always like in Civ 6 when they give some leaders that you can actually kind of play tall with, and I think Tokugawa is one of those leaders, so I would definitely recommend giving him a try. So yeah, those have been the 3 leaders that were added in the Great Warlords pack. As I mentioned before, I'm going to go back and I'll release one of these videos for the Great Negotiators as well. But overall, I'm much more happy with the Great Warlords pack than the Great Negotiators pack. I think whenever I obviously made the video when the Great Negotiators pack came out complaining about it, but I think that the leaders in the Great Warlords pack are they at least feel more thoughtful, like they actually considered the civs that the leader is a part of whenever deciding their abilities, and in addition to that, some historical context and stuff. And yeah, I'm more happy with it. It was also a very smooth launch as well, so can't complain about that. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. I have been the Saxy Gamer. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you're looking for some more Civilization 6 content, feel free to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.